Welcome to Breaking Wire. Please subscribe to the channel and press the bell icon for more updates. I'm sure you've heard the news. The U.S. Canada trade war has reached a boiling point. President Trump has demanded American control over Canadian ports like Vancouver and Halifax, citing national security. Ottawa was stunned. Prime Minister Mark Carney responded immediately, rejecting the demand in a televised address. Canadian sovereignty is not negotiable. Carney's firm stance drew overwhelming support at home, with Canadians viewing Trump's move as a direct attack on their independence. This standoff marks a dramatic low in U.S. Canada relations, threatening decades of close economic integration. The world watched as Canada, often the quiet partner, stood its ground against its powerful neighbor. Trump's demand and Carney's refusal have pushed the dispute beyond economics. This is now a battle over sovereignty and respect. The fallout is immediate. Uncertainty for businesses, disrupted supply chains, and a sense that the North American alliance is fracturing. What will Trump do next? Harsher tariffs? More pressure? For now, both nations are locked in a standoff, with the future of their partnership hanging in the balance. The conflict has entered uncharted territory, with both sides unwilling to back down. The stakes, not just trade, but the very nature of the U.S.-Canada relationship. The world is watching, and the consequences could be historic. In response to U.S. pressure, Canada has launched its own Canada First policy. Prime Minister Carney's plan includes retaliatory tariffs, billions in subsidies, and a strict Buy Canadian mandate for government projects. The goal: protect key industries like steel, autos, and lumber, and reduce dependence on the American market. Ottawa is betting on a more resilient, independent economy, even if it means short-term pain. Critics warn of higher prices and risks for Canadian consumers, but Carney insists the shift is necessary. The $5 billion fund will help industries modernize and retrain workers hit by the trade war. This marks a sharp break from Canada's free trade tradition, reflecting a new era of economic nationalism. The border, once just a line on a map, is now a real economic wall. Canada's message: it will defend its industries and workers, even if it means going it alone. The Canada First doctrine is more than policy. It's a declaration of economic independence. The stakes for Canada's future have never been higher.
The Trump administration defends its tariffs as vital for national security and fair trade. Tariffs now hit everything from steel to auto parts, aiming to force companies to bring jobs back to the U.S. The White House touts any new U.S. factory as proof the policy works. But the unpredictability is wreaking havoc. Tariffs are announced with little warning, leaving businesses scrambling. Critics say this volatility is more damaging than the tariffs themselves, making long-term planning nearly impossible. Many question the national security rationale, calling it a cover for protectionism. Tariffs are, in effect, a tax on American consumers and businesses. Legal challenges are mounting, but the administration remains committed to its hardline approach. The result: a climate of uncertainty, with businesses and workers caught in the crossfire. The U.S. is betting big on tariffs, at the risk of its own economic stability. The trade war has slammed the trucking and logistics industries. Tariffs on steel and auto parts have driven up the cost of new trucks, hitting small carriers hardest. Freight markets are chaotic. Companies rush to beat tariff deadlines, then face sudden downturns. Cross-border trade is slower and more expensive, with new paperwork and inspections at every turn. The once seamless North American supply chain is now riddled with delays and uncertainty. Larger carriers try to pass costs to customers, but many small firms may not survive. The trucking industry's struggles are a warning sign for the broader economy. If these tensions persist, the ripple effects could be severe. The road ahead for logistics is rough, and the stakes are rising. The trade war has reached the American housing market. New tariffs on Canadian lumber and building materials are set to raise the cost of new homes by thousands of dollars. Home builders warn that these price hikes could put homeownership out of reach for many families. The Canadian lumber industry faces job losses and mill closures, while U.S. builders struggle with higher costs. Critics argue the U.S. can't meet demand with domestic lumber alone, making the tariffs a tax on homebuyers. The policy deepens the rift between the two countries and threatens the housing market's stability. The administration's goal: boost U.S. producers. The reality: higher prices for everyone. The fallout is immediate and painful on both sides of the border. The trade war's impact is rippling through the U.S. economy. Tariffs mean higher costs for companies, who pass them on to consumers as price hikes. Inflation is rising, eroding family budgets, and fueling fears of a slowdown. Businesses face deep uncertainty.
making it risky to invest or hire. The stock market is volatile, and corporate leaders are anxious. Tariffs meant to help one industry often hurt another, like automakers hit by higher steel prices. The result? Winners and losers within the U.S. economy, and a growing risk of doing more harm than good. Farmers, manufacturers, and homebuyers all feel the pain. Temporary aid can't fix the underlying problems. The trade war has unleashed forces that are hard to control, leaving the future uncertain for businesses and workers alike. The era of predictable global trade is over. The U.S. Canada bond is badly damaged, and both countries face an uncertain future. Canada's new strategy is a gamble. Success depends on finding new markets and adapting fast. American industries must navigate volatile costs and shifting supply chains. Globally, U.S. protectionism has triggered a wave of new trade alliances that exclude America. The world is moving toward fragmented regional trade blocs. The big question: will economic nationalism build stronger economies, or spark a cycle of tariffs and stagnation? No one knows for sure, but the risks are real. Businesses and governments everywhere are bracing for a future defined by competition and conflict. The global order is shifting, and the consequences will be felt for years to come.